Jamie, man,
Hey,
how are you? It's good
what's
to
going
see you,
on,
man.
brother? How you been?
Good, good. I'm just so happy that we could come down to see you today. I mean, I can't believe that we're really here. Like, we're finally going to get a place of our own. It took us 3 years to save up this down payment. So.
Wow.
I'm so done with paying that rent check every month. We've been pouring our money into our landlord's pockets for way too long.
Yeah, from the dishwasher that doesn't work to no heat in the winter. I mean, we're so out of there. We're going to get a place of our very own. We'll paint it the way we want. We'll keep it nice and warm, and we'll get a dishwasher that works. I don't do dishes.
Hey, I cook, you wash.
I know. So, what have you got for us?
All right, well, let's see here. I know right now is a perfect time to buy. There are a lot of good bargains out here. But let's see if the prices are level. And so I would like to know what do you guys want to get started with?
Honestly, we don't really know what kind of house we're looking for. I mean, one day I think I want a single family house, and then I get concerned that we won't be able to make the payments. And then my brother, of course, he is convinced that we need to get a 2 or 3 family home and use the rent to pay the mortgage. And of course, you know, the additional income helps offset any costs that we would have. But then there's co-ops and condominiums, and it's pretty confusing.
Well, we know that condos and co-ops are a lot less expensive, but I get confused between co-ops and condos. Are they really a lot cheaper than a single family home?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. Condos and co-ops are similar. You know, in both situations, you live in a unit that's part of a bigger complex. As part of that bigger complex, you pay a monthly fee to cover the cost of maintaining the building's exterior and common areas.
Is that fee on top of the mortgage? Doesn't that make it more expensive?
Yes, I mean, that fee is on top of the mortgage, you know, but the good news is that you have a very limited responsibility for things like exterior painting, landscaping, roof, and so on and so on, which can be a choice for people who are busy but, you know, not too handy around the house or just not interested in spending their time that way, you know?
So if they both have these fees, what's the difference?
What the difference between the co-ops and the condos is that what you own. Now, with the condo, you are buying the inside of the unit, all right? You receive a deed for it as if it were a standalone house, and you can sell it to whomever you want. Now, that may be important if you are likely to get transferred out of state because of work and you have to move in a short period of time. Now, in the co-op, you don't actually own the unit. You own shares in the co-op association, and so the co-op association board must approve anyone who buys a unit, including you.
I've heard about that. Isn't it hard to get approved by the co-op board? Like, they don't even let famous people move into some of these buildings, right?
Well, there have been some buildings in the city that have not wanted to get the noise and the fuss and the attention that comes with the celebrity resident. But in most cases, they use qualified buyers so they can find some good opportunities in the co-ops.
So I guess one of the advantages of a single family home is that you don't have to get board approval.
Well, no, that's true. With the single-family house, I mean, you own the house as well as the property that the house sits on. Now, you don't need to get any kind of approvals, but you're completely responsible for maintaining it and likely the most expensive option.
My dad said that there was some way to save money on your taxes if you own your own house. Do you know what he was talking about?
Yeah, I mean, he's right. Now, it's one of the best reasons to own a home. Now, when you do your taxes, you're able to deduct the interest on your mortgage and property taxes you pay. Now, that can mean substantial savings come tax time, and it's an important consideration when you're trying to figure out how much you can afford. All right, now for an example, a $1,500 mortgage payment on a home is more affordable than an apartment that rents for, let's say, $1,500 a month, because you have all those savings come tax time.
So what about a 2-family house? My brother is convinced that that is the way to go.
The rental income can help cover your monthly payments. But you have to understand, having a rental unit means added responsibility. Now, you are the landlord, and you have to make sure you collect the rent each month and maintain the apartment. Now, say, for example, if someone has a water heater that pipes that burst, now you have to be responsible for that. So either you have to be handy yourself or be willing to pay someone to come out and fix a problem whenever you need them. Now, that can be a real challenge, my friend.
I see what you mean. I guess that's something to think about. I kind of have the same concerns, though, about a fixer-upper, right? You know, a guy that we know, he bought a house for a really low amount of money and it needed a lot of work. And he worked on it every weekend until now. And he says that now it's worth twice what he paid for it. But I can swing a hammer, but I'm not a carpenter. I don't mind buying a house that needs some work, but I'm worried that we'll get a house that has bigger problems than what we can see. How do you make sure it's not going to fall apart tomorrow?
That's why when you find a house that you think you want, you have to hire a home inspector to check out the house. Now, that can cost anywhere from $400 to $500, but it can be well worth it, especially if the inspector finds something majorly wrong with the house.
I'm worried about figuring out how to pay for a house. There seem to be a lot of options out there. Fixed rate mortgages, adjustable rate mortgages, which one is better?
Well, I think the 30-year fixed rate mortgage is the best way to finance a home purchase. Now, fixed rate, that means that the interest rate doesn't change over the life of the loan, so the payment will remain the same primarily throughout each month until you have paid off the loan. Now, for most people, that helps them manage their housing budget more easily.
I know that is the kind that my parents have on their house, but I checked into it, and they seem to have higher interest rates than the adjustable rate mortgages.
You're right. They do have higher rates. So maybe one of the things we consider is if you are eligible for a 40-year fixed rate loan. Now, you will pay more interest if you actually stay in a house for 40 years, but the monthly payments will be lower. Now, lots of first-time home buyers find that, spending or actually spreading the cost over an additional 10 years makes the fixed rate loan more affordable. And more importantly, it helps them avoid taking an adjusted rate mortgage. So now these ARMs start out at a low interest rate, usually lower than the fixed rate. But when these loans adjust, their interest rates can go up, way up. Suddenly the family can no longer afford their payments.
That sounds kind of risky.
Now, you have to be very careful with adjustable rate mortgages. Now, you also need to know if there's a cap on how high the interest rate can go and what the worst case scenario would be in terms of how high your payments might go and decide if you could afford that monthly cost.
I think I would rather stick with the fixed rate loan and know what our payments are going to be. What do you think, Jim?
I'm with you, babe. I think it might be a little tight at first, even with a fixed rate. I sure don't want to add any surprises. I heard about some special programs for first-time home buyers. Is that something we might qualify for?
There are a number of programs that are helpful to first-time home buyers, and I think you guys will qualify. So there are some mortgages that are less costly, and there are even some down payment assistance programs where you save a certain amount and then they will match your savings. Now, actually, I have a friend, Kurt Ranson, that works for one of the not-for-profit home buyer counseling agencies. Now, they can give you great information on the whole home buying process, including down payment assistance grants you might be eligible for. And best of all, their services are free.
That would be great. It sounds like there's a lot to think about, and I don't want to make any mistakes.
Yep. I mean, there is a lot to think about. I mean, buying a home is a big step. But for most of us, it is the single largest financial transaction we will ever undertake. I mean, it is worth it to take some time and learn how to do it right. Now, this agency can tell you what to expect.
A friend at work warned me to be ready for the closing, the meeting where you sign all the papers. He said to make sure I brought plenty of checks and had extra money in my account to cover all the closing costs.
All right. So now we'll need some money, at the closing. Now you'll need to pay for title insurance, a lawyer to review the loan documents. You have to take out homeowners insurance, and you might have to even pay points. Now that's a fee based on a percentage of your total loan. Now that all does add up.
Gosh, how much does all that cost?
Your lender will give you an itemized list before the closing, but you should expect the cost to be about 6 to 8%. Now that's on top of the down payment, which you have to run between 5 and 10% of the total purchase price.
I guess we have a lot of work to do and a lot of money to save.
You're right. This is a big step for us. As eager as I am to get started, I can see how taking a little time to learn more about the process is a good investment of our time. We don't want to make a mistake that could cost us everything. Can you give us the name of that counseling agency you mentioned? I think we better make a call.
All right, so I think you guys have made a wise decision. Remember to call my buddy over at the agency right away to get the ball rolling. And remember to come back and see me. I want to get this sold for you. And remember to invite me to the housewarming. I want to be there. 4 o'clock sharp.
Definitely, definitely.
And, don't forget me.
Thanks,
All
man.
right.